The shriveled and diminished Trump advisor Stephen Miller said a lot of things yesterday. He said some of them to CNN. He said some of them to the press pool cameras outside of the White House. He was asked about how he called a judge's ruling a legal insurrection when it comes to the deployment of troops. And Stephen Miller goes, that's factually accurate.
You called a legal ruling legal insurrection. Are you recommending the president take action against judges whose rulings he disagrees with?
No, it's simply a factually accurate statement that when a judge assumes for him or herself the powers that have been relegated or delegated by the Constitution to the president, that is a form of a legal insurrection. And we have seen...
Insurrection carries legal weight, so are you recommending...
We have seen over the last 9 months a ongoing legal insurrection in which district court judges, as a class in many cases, have issued, which is why they've been overturned so much, have issued rulings that are flagrantly unlawful and unconstitutional. And it is an insurrection against the laws and Constitution of the United States. And we need to have district courts in this country that see themselves as being under the laws and Constitution and not being able to take for themselves powers that are reserved solely for the president. One more question.
Think about that. January 6th, 2021, definitely not an insurrection, according to Stephen Miller. Judges making decisions that Trump likes, definitely not an insurrection. Judges making decisions that Trump doesn't like, that's an insurrection. It's an insurrection against the law. This is the classic modern authoritarian Republican idea. You say inflammatory and wacky things. When you're confronted with them, you act shocked that anyone would accuse you of anything that is not totally on the up and up. What? No, of course, it's an insurrection by the judges. What do you mean? I didn't say the wrong thing. The judge's decisions were simply wrong. This got even worse back to the CNN interview when he started arguing, Stephen Miller did, that black people in Chicago love ICE on the streets and deployed military. They just love all of it.
He says that you're attempting to inflame tensions and create a war zone. He also says that you are profiling, that you're targeting black and brown people, even those who turn out to be here legally. What's your response?
Well, first of all, the black people in Chicago are thrilled that we're getting the illegal aliens out of their communities who are stealing their housing, jobs, and resources.
It turns out, unfortunately, that documented and undocumented immigrants aren't really stealing houses, jobs, and resources. Certainly on some basic supply and demand level, more people looking for housing has an upward effect on prices. It's modest, but it's real. But with regard to jobs and resources, we know that the presence of documented and undocumented immigrants is extraordinarily economically stimulative. No matter what the color of your skin is, whether you're white, brown, black, or any color, if you are presented with the real data on this, would recognize the presence of immigrants, documented and undocumented. This is not a defense of undocumented immigration, mind you. Of course, countries have a right to enforce immigration law, but let's not lie. The presence of both documented and undocumented immigrants is demand-side stimulus. It creates more economic output, generates more demand, is good for local businesses, is good for local economies, is good for the American economy. Now, you can say they should all be doing it legally, not illegally. Fine. Countries have every right to enforce immigration law. But the idea that by sending these masked goons and militarized troops through the streets to round people up, some of them who are documented, some are undocumented, even American citizens getting wrapped up in the entire thing and entangled. You're going to improve the economy, not borne out by the facts. Finally, the dehumanization of talking about putting down. Listen to this.
Objective is to make it impossible for ICE to carry out ICE enforcement. When in our history have we tolerated unlawful riotous assemblies night after night around FBI buildings or ATF buildings or DEA buildings? This is the textbook definition of domestic terrorism, using the actual and imminent threat of violence to keep federal officials from doing their jobs. And unless we send in troops and resources, then we will continue to bleed federal law enforcement resources in these street battles. It's absurd. It's unconstitutional. It must be put down.
It must be put down. The dehumanizing language is not a bug. They see it as a feature. MAGA hears it. See, here's where we lose. We think if we just show them this language, they would be disgusted with it and they would go, oh, we can't support that. But that's where we are wrong. You show them this language, they go, that's great. It sounds strong. It sounds robust. It sounds like we're finally taking control of our country. It's a feature and not a bug. That makes it much harder to fight against. A lot of people think identity theft is something that only happens when someone hacks into your account, but the truth is that it usually starts with your personal information being posted online by data brokers where anybody can find it. Our sponsor, Incogni, is a service that helps protect your privacy by forcing the data brokers to delete your information. This includes your name, address, phone number, even sensitive things like property records or your political affiliation. And now with their custom removals feature included in the unlimited plan, you're not limited to just the list of 250 plus brokers they work with by default. If you find any site exposing any of your private information, even one they've never seen before, you can send a link and Incogni's team will work to get that removed. This is serious protection for you and your family against identity theft, against fraud, doxing, harassment, and Incogni's data removal process is the only one independently verified by Deloitte. Get 60% off an annual plan when you visit incogni.com/Pakman and use the code Pakman. The link is in the description.